So everyone ready? We will study the will of life or the 12 links of interdependent origination. So we finish story about this. How does this will come from? Right? From India. So pending King Bimbasara offered to Uttayana. So and when you offer this, so Buddha like two verses under this. The verses are take this up and give that up. Enter the Buddha's teaching like an elephant in the lotus pond. Destroy the force of Lord of Death. He or she who mindfully engage in this way of discipline will leave the will of birth behind and bring his suffering to an end. So with this picture, so two verses written by Buddha and give to the King Uddayana. And when he read this, the king realized dependent origination, and he became king was able to cross from this will of life, cycle of existence. So that's the history. And now, in order to study this, right, you have a motivation, that motivation. So that means our motivation is not only for yourself, right? Motivation is we are talking about liberating all sentient beings from the cycle of existence. But in order to do this, first you have to liberate yourself from this will of life, right? Therefore, you have to study, you have to think, and you have to contemplate, and set up strong motivation. Why I have to, study and contemplate, and why I have to escape from this way of life. You need very clear realization about if you stay under this will of life, then you are controlled by ignorance. So when you are controlled by ignorance, right? So then doesn't matter, no matter who you are, you will never get any permanent happiness. We have happiness, but we have always problem one all the time. We will never end the problem until we realize, contemplate on these 12 links and understanding that the ignorance, we have to replace ignorance with the wisdom realizing emptiness. You know what I mean? So ignorance is mistaken, and so wisdom realizing emptiness replaced by understanding ignorance. By realizing ignorance is something very harmful. So therefore, you need very clear understanding why you have escaped from this will of life. But we can't escape at the moment because our negative mind will tell you, you will stay in samsara, at pleasure. Our negative mind level tell you, you can stay in the samsara. Like we are not realizing clear realization of the disadvantage of this fundamental ignorance. because fundamental ignorance is the key factor, all our problem. Because of we are studying this wheel of life 2 points. First, we are going to study about dependent arising of afflictive emotions, impure dependent origination, right? Once we have clear understanding of the impure dependent arising of afflictive emotions, and then you will realize if there is impure dependent origination, afflicted dependent origination, there must be pure dependent arising too, which is liberation and cessation. When we're talking about Four Noble Truths. So, truth of suffering and origin suffering is the impure afflicted dependent origination. Truth of cessation and truth of path is pure dependent origination. So you have clear understanding about afflicted dependent arising, which is impure, because which is, if we are talking about afflicted dependent arising, we are talking about cause and effect, right? So cause and effect, whatever we experience in our life is the result of the karma, karma. It is result of karma. So karma, when we create karma, karma arises from the afflictive emotions. Afflictive emotion arising from the ignorance. So go like that, right? So our experience, because all our experience depend on our karma, right? Karma. If you believe karma, whatever you experience is the result of your karma, right? So karma is because we have afflictive emotions. Afflictive emotions depends on the fundamental ignorance. Therefore, it is very important to study this wheel of life, okay? Now here, picture, right? You see the picture. It is held by we call the demon. Demon, that is demon, Lord of Death. Right? So this is with us all the time. We do not recognize, It is our nature. So long we are in the samsara, right? Karma and delusions, our men, right? So long we are dominated by samsara, this demon is our nature. But we do not recognize this demon. So this demon is, since we born till we die, the demon is eating our life. But we do not recognize eating life all the time. Until we finish, demon is eating. How does it eat? Eating our health. It can make many, eat. Finally we finish our life. So therefore, so that symbolizes impermanence. He has this will of life. He's telling us, if you are in this will, then doesn't matter, you will suffer all the time. Only temporary. There's no lasting peace. Now in this picture, we have first in the center three animals. So three animals symbolize three poisons: ignorance, anger, and attachment. So the pig symbolizes ignorance, right? Snake symbolizes anger, and rooster symbolizes attachment. So these three poisons is the main cause. So you can also see the tail of the snake, and tail of the rooster is pig's mouth. So that means anger coming from ignorance, attachment coming from ignorance. So root cause is ignorance. Okay, ignorance. Now see half black, half white. Okay. So black is symbolizing black or negative karma. White karma. So people who create negative karma will go down, right? And people who create positive karma will go up. So that means we have inside there are six realms of sentient beings. If you create good karma, you will be reborn in human beings, God, and then God. If you create bad or negative karma, you will go down to the three lower realms: animal, animals, and hell beings. Now you can see there are 12 links, right? So 12 links. So 12 links. First 12 links, dependent origination has 4 parts, 4 categories. So number 1 is the division of the 12 links. How many 12 links? The 2 is condensed presentation of the links, and 3rd is how many lifetimes are required to complete this wheel of life, and 4th is how to summarize this significance. So it will all come into the four points. So you can see the first link is ignorance, right? And the second link is karmic formation, and 3rd link is consciousness, and 4th link is name and form, 5th link is 6 senses, 6th link is contact, 7th link is feeling, 8th link is craving, 9th link is grasping, 10th link is existence, means fully wrapped karma, and 11th link is birth. 12th link is aging and death. These are the 12 links. So we have 12 links go with the 12 analogies. 12. Okay. So now first link, right? First link. Oh, sorry, I'm not finished that one, right? So you see all this wheel of life inside, right? So now you see the moon and Buddha pointing to the moon. Okay. So moon symbolizing liberation. Buddha pointing to the moon symbolizing path. Buddha will show you path, how to escape from this wheel of life. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? So we have this one picture. Now first this 12 links in Nagarjuna text, like fundamental wisdom, number 23rd chapter is how to meditate on the 12 links. In Nagarjuna fundamental wisdom, 18th chapter will show you how independent Atman, I, self-grasping, how grasping, self-grasp. So it means, so chapter number 18 will show you how to meditate and how to how to recognize grasping. Then mixed with chapter number 24 will show you how to negate how to negate this independent existent grasping. So if you combine this together, very good meditation. His Holiness said he do this meditation every day. With first contemplate Nagarjuna's 23rd chapter about this 12 lengths of dependent origination, and then 18th chapter how grasping appears, and then 24th chapter how to negate that independent existence self. With the combination of this, His Holiness said he realized emptiness. His Holiness said 40 years he just realized a little bit emptiness. So it's not easy. Okay, we think emptiness very easy, but shouldn't be like. It's very emptiness is very difficult topic, right? Sounds like very easy, but it's not easy. So that means now here first it is teaching coming from the Rice Settling Sutra. So it's requested by Venerable Shariputra and Masi the Maitre Buddha. So first I will read a little bit sutra, right? So, it is called the Rice Settling Sutra. Rice settling. It means very easy if you show external, rice and cause and effect, right? Dependent arising of cause and effect. So very easy if you show some external object. Rice seedling sutra. So because rice seed weapon, right? It bring you what? Bring you result, like cause and effect. So then rice seeking sutra, cause and effect, external object, and then internal affiliated emotion, cause and effect. Dependent origination of cause and effect. So in this sutra, first, homage to all Buddha and Bodhisattvas, right? Homage to all Buddha, Bodhisattvas. Thus have I heard at one time, Thus have I heard at one time the Bhagwan with Buddha, Bhagwan with Buddha, residing on the Welch's Peak mountain. That's in Welch's Peak, where Buddha gave the Heart Sutra, perfection of wisdom, 100,000 perfection of wisdom, 25,000 perfection of wisdom, and the short perfection of wisdom is Heart Sutra. So he gave on that mountain, Mount Welch's Peak mountain. In Rajgarh, which is the name of that city. When the Rajgarh is the land of the King Bimbasara during that period. With large sanghas of number 1,250, 1,250 bhikshus, with the great many bodhisattvas. So I don't know, this is very small, how can they fit all these thousands of bodhisattvas, mahasattvas on that mountain. And bodhisattvas means person who have realization of bodhicitta mind. Right. Bodhisattva can be divided into ordinary bodhisattva and higher bodhisattva. Right. Bodhisattva means he or she who have realization of bodhicitta mind. Realization of bodhicitta mind, then you become bodhisattva. So bodhisattva ordinary Bodhisattva, and Arya Bodhisattva. So the Mahasattvas are Arya Bodhisattvas, person who directly realizes emptiness in the path of seeing, in the path of meditation, which will go into the first. These are Mahasattvas, not ordinary Bodhisattvas. At that time, Venerable Shariputra, right? Shariputra, and went to the place frequented by the Bodhisattvas, Mahasattva, meeting Mahasattva, and Maitreya, Mahasattva Maitreya. And after they had exchanged courteous about meeting each other, they both sat down on flat rock. And then they both asked Buddha, what is dependent origination? If you realize dependent origination, why you have to realize Buddha? Why, if you realize dependent origination, why you have to realize Dharma? If you realize dependent origination, why you have to realize Sangha, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? And finally, realization of dependent origination lead you to the liberation for enlightened beings. So they ask this question, Buddha. So now so that's the sutra, right? Now we are going to first study about, so you have clear picture, right, of this. You understand all this, right? So you contemplate, right, and you know all the meaning of the picture, right? Now first link is ignorance. Now ignorance, so you can see the blind person, or blind man or woman. That's the symbol of ignorance. So ignorance, so what is the definition of ignorance now? Definition. Generally speaking, ignorance means not knowing, right? We ignore, right? Not knowing, that's just simple, definition of ignorance. Here, ignorance means more than that, right? So it means there are, first I would like to say, there are two types of ignorance. Ignorance of law of causality and ignorance of nature of reality, right? Law of causality and nature of reality. So that means dependent origination of cause and effect will dispel the ignorance of law of causality. You understand what I'm saying? Law of causality. So that ignorance dispelled by meditating on the dependent origination of cause and effect, right? Then we talk about dependent origination of the whole and parts. So that we included everything, right? Previous dependent origination of cause and effect only for the product, not for non-product. So now we will extend more than that, right? The whole and part we will extend to both product and non-product, right? Whole and part. So once we have understanding these two types of dependent origination, right? Cause and effect and whole and part, then we have very clear understanding how things appear to us, but actual reality not that way. How things appear, it appears something, but actual reality not that way. It means whatever, because of ignorance, all things whatever we see, whatever we smell, all appears to us independently. All appears something objectively or existing from the side of the object. But reality, it is not that way. Absence of independent existence. So then, that the dependent origination of designated by the mind will dispel the ignorance of nature of reality. Understand? So first we have to make ignorance divided into two: ignorance of the law of causality and ignorance of the nature of reality. So this ignorance will dispelled by meditating on three different categories of the imagination. Right. So what is the definition of ignorance? There are two. There are many different. Some master, like Vasubandhu, ignorance is like enemy, false enemy. So it is like enemy, false. So that means. So it is. If you have enemy, right, enemy who try to harm you every day, who will make you trouble, very easy to recognize, right? That enemy who make you trouble, who make you problem, oh, I don't like this person, where can I go, or whatever I can do to different from this enemy. This kind of enemy, easy to recognize. But some enemies are not like that, right? Some enemies are sneaky, two faces, showing something, but deep down, real enemy, that kind of enemy is false. So Vasubandhu said, very difficult to recognize. Right? If you have enemy, very rough, easy, right? You can, oh, he is my enemy, bang, 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 boom, boom, boom. You can hit or whatever, boom, 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 like fire, boom, 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 like this, easy. But if you are very enemy, who's real enemy, but very sneaky, two faces. So that kind of enemy is very difficult to recognize. So ignorance, Vasubandhu said, like enemy, false. I will deceiving you deep down. But in other master, ignorance, definition of ignorance, there are two definitions of ignorance. First definition of ignorance is not knowing the reality. Second definition of ignorance is not knowing the truth. That is, so not knowing the reality and not knowing the truth is the definition of ignorance. Okay, so that's the definition of ignorance. Now here, so this ignorance we call the, so you recognize ignorance, right? This blind person. So so usually we call the crazy people, right? Because crazy people, mental unstable, up and down, right? And cannot control the mind. We say, oh, this he or she, crazy people, blah, 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 like that. But Shantideva said, if we are controlled by this, three poison, we are like crazy person, crazy, right? But however, if crazy person who have good eyes, good hearing, cannot go to the dangerous place, right? He's crazy, but good eyes, good hearing, cannot go to the dangerous place, right? If crazy person is blind, will go to the dangerous place, maybe falling from the cliff, right? So that is, ignorance is something like this, right? Because until we realize the ultimate reality, we are like blind. Because we don't want suffering, but we are creating suffering all the time. That's why ignorance confuses our life, our experience. So therefore, first, maybe I want to read this, then this will tell you. So is it possible, right? We are able to recognize ignorance and liberate from this cycle of existence, right? You have to ask the question, right? Is it possible, right? Because if not possible, then what's the point? But you have to check and ask yourself, is it possible we will recognize ignorance very harmful and defeat and liberate from the cycle of existence? Now here the statement made by the Indian great master Chandrakirti, great master. So his statement, he said that Tibetan called the sixth self is clear word. That is because he composed the text of the middle way of entrance is the root text. And he also made commentary on that text of the middle way of entrance. That is called the clear word, sixth self, Tibetan. So in this text, he makes statement that Chandrakirti said, if one can posit emptiness, right? Emptiness, then one can posit the word of dependent origination. Word of dependent origination. If one can posit that, then one can posit the causal relationship between, right, suffering and its origin. That's I'm talking about impure dependent origination, remember? Dependent origination of the afflictive, impure mind, and dependent origination of the pure mind, and four noble truths. First two noble truths are dependent origination of impure suffering and its origin. Next two noble truth of cessation, truth of path are pure dependent origination. So he said, if one can posit that, one can posit the causal relationship between suffering and its origin, then one can accept these, then one can also conceive of and accept the possibility that there could be end of suffering. If one can do that, then Chandrakirti said, then one can also accept that it is possible for the individual person like you and me, individual person to realize, to actualize the state. And finally, of course, one can conceive of the Buddha who is actually perfected state of cessation. So that's the point, okay. So therefore, here I'm pointing out about ignorance, right? That ignorance, we do not realize ignorance. That ignorance, fundamental ignorance. If we do really realize ignorance, we will try to defeat that ignorance. But we are not realizing, It means that if we do not realize fundamental ignorance today, tomorrow, more ignorance. 1 week no realization, 2 weeks more ignorance. 1 month no realization, 1 month, 12 months, 1 year, we are ignorant, right? So therefore that ignorance, in order to realize that ignorance, we have to use the logic, we have to use the reason, because we do not want pain and suffering, right? But until ignorance there's no space of permanent happiness. There's space of temporary happiness, but there's always problem. No matter who you are, we see, right? See, there's problem all the time. So that is very clear. We are not realizing harmful of ignorance. So that is very difficult. But what we have to do now? What we have to do? Huh? We do not want pain and suffering, but still we are influenced of this ignorance. So you have to, if you have one enemy who really harm you all the time, what can you do? Right? You do many things to defeat your enemies. Right? You can rely on other persons, or you can do many things to defend from your enemies, because he is harming you all the time. So you have to, whatever your capability you will do to defeat or to defend from your enemies, or to defeat your enemies, relying on other person and whatever you want. Yes. But that enemy, it will come back, right? Not enemy will come back one day. If you go to other place, enemy will come back. But it's not temporary. You defeat the enemy, right? But here, when we defeat, it will defeat permanently. Cessation, right? Cessation. So we have to so you know the definition of ignorance, right? Two. Definition of ignorance is not knowing the reality, not knowing the truth. Not knowing the reality, not knowing the truth. Not knowing the reality, not knowing the truth, replacement of the wisdom realizing emptiness for dependent origination, right? Dependent origination. So therefore, we have to, so that, remember that that logic is very, many great masters that use that logic. It's called the four principles, right? Principle of nature, principle of efficacy, principle of dependence, and principle of valid proof. So when think about what is principle of nature, what is the nature of ignorance? What is the nature of ignorance? Like nature of ignorance, this one, right? Here. So long we are controlled by ignorance under this nature. It is nature. So we want happiness, right? You really want happiness, you have to contemplate on this training and think about, study, contemplate. But we are but we also think that you also not think, I will easy to defeat ignorance, That's not possible. But you have to think slowly, gradually I will defeat this ignorance. Because if you have very high expectation, there's no way, right? But what I have to do is slowly, gradually, I can defeat this ignorance. So that means I have opportunity to understand these 12 links. So I study, I think, I contemplate. I have this opportunity. It is incredible opportunity I have in this country, like this country, like, you know what I mean, in the Western society, like incredible, you have this, so you have, I have such a wonderful opportunity to study this 12 years. I have met the Dharma, how harmful ignorance is, We are not like other people going outside of the supermarket, they have no Dharma, they don't know what ignorance is. But we have all this idea, study, and we know the nature of ignorance. But now, it will take time, but definitely I will defeat. That's in your mind, strong determination. And then you use that logic. When ignorance arises, but we do not recognize ignorance. Right? For example, anger arises, very easy to recognize. But bottom line, ignorance there. Whatever emotion arises, bottom line, ignorance. It's always there, But we do not recognize. Right? Easy to recognize these gross afflictive emotions are very easy to recognize. Right? We can temporarily apply antidote, subside. Right? Master Nagarjuna said, all these gross afflictive emotions, easy to recognize, you can apply antidote, but temporarily subside. Now, very subtle afflictive emotions, that means is mental projection, mistaken mental projection. So that is more difficult to recognize. So if you deeply analyze, where does this gross affective emotion arises? It arises from mistaken mental projection. Where does mistaken mental projection arise? It arises from fundamental ignorance. It comes to the ignorance. You know what I mean? So what we have to do is, you use four nature, four principle of nature. What is the nature of ignorance? You see ignorance nature. Now you recognize ignorance nature. Did you recognize? Somebody recognize ignorance nature, and then you use the principle of efficacy. What is the activities of the ignorance? What ignorance do for us? Right? When we are ignorant, right? And then we cannot see the reality. We cannot see the truth. Everything based on the mistaken mental projection. That causes many pain and suffering. You know what I mean? So therefore, you use the second principle part, principle of efficacy. Then, principle of dependence, cause and effect. Right? Cause and effect. So dependence, cause and effect. It means you plant good cause, good result. Bad cause, bad result. It is dependent origination, right? If you plant good karma, good result. Bad karma, bad result. There is no way good karma will bring the bad karma. Bad karma will bring the good karma. Right? Impossible. So relationship between cause and effect. Right? So, and then you use the proof, valid proof. What is the valid proof? Means good reason. Good reason means base is very good. Base is solid and not mistaken, because the base is dependent origination and emptiness. If you understand, you prove that you use the you use this four principle path, principle of nature, principle of efficacy, principle of dependence, and principle of valid proof. So valid proof is if you really deeply look under the ignorance base is mistaken. Then you realize I want to replace ignorance with dependent origination and understanding reality and real truth. Then you see the fundamental background is very solid, because on the basis of the reason, because all is full reason, we can prove that it is not 100% not mistaken. It is 100% we will prove it is truth, and we will, if we practice something like this, definitely we will escape from this will of life and achieve the cessation to the liberation. You understand what I'm saying? Thank you very much. Okay, finish. Do you have a question? No confusion?
Just one question.
Yeah.
Just if you could elaborate a little on the efficacy, the second.
Efficacy means the activity.
Yeah, and the tools of efficacy.
What is activity? Activity, like what is the characteristic of that emotion? What is the characteristic of anger? What is the characteristic of ignorance? What is the characteristic of affective emotions? To harm, right? To create negative. Not plant a seed, but also we are collecting karma. That's the very serious. When we are engaging with actions of the body, speech, and we create karma, plus we plant the karmic seed. Same time, right? So karmic seed, right? But that seed is, we call that seed is hidden phenomena. It's not manifesting to our eye, ear, It is hidden phenomena, therefore it is proved by reason, by logic, by inferential valid mind. We will prove. Something we can't see, we have proved by reason, right? Maybe I will give you one example. This big mountain there. You see the smoke there, right? But you don't see the fire, right? But you just see only smoke, and then you think, oh, there is fire, because there is smoke. You know what I mean? You go to the night time on the ocean, foggy ocean, but there is no fire, right? So you can prove like this. Something you can't see, through your logic, you prove. It's simple like this, right? So it is similar than this, what I'm speaking Tibetan. The seed is hidden phenomenon. Okay, thank you.
O Zaribogi Jungji Medora Rira Lingjini Yamani Sangye Jindu Mingde Uwai Drogun Namdajima Chomajo O Garirawe Koe Jingame Panda Dewa Malu Joene Chan Rezing Wan Tanzan Yazoi Jabe Siteba